Hey everyone, welcome to our very first episode of Question Deep Dive. All right, so thank you for watching this live from Science with Dani. All right, where I help parents and students in their journey towards PSLE science. Okay, so today we are gonna do a question deep dive, all right, on one of the topics. So in case if you do not want to miss any of our other future videos, all right, why don't you just click on the subscribe button and don't forget the notification bell. Okay, all right. So today we have got a question where it is a topic on photosynthesis. All right, and this is one of the topic from the upper block, and the theme is energy. So if this is the first time you're joining us and you're wondering who is this guy, my name is Dani Dawood. I am the teacher and content creator at Science with Dani. Okay, all right. So let's not delay any longer. Let us dive straight into the question. Okay, so here we go. Right, this question here is start off with Raja carried out an experiment as shown below. Both beakers were left near the window for a week. Okay, now if we take a look at this part of the question, it says that left near the window for a week. This is in fact important because this tells us that there is the presence of sunlight. Okay, and we know that when we are, when a plant needs to photosynthesize, one of the important component is sunlight. All right, just in case if you're not sure about the factors or the component that is needed for photosynthesis, you can watch our video. I will put the link in the description below, where we talk about photosynthesis. All right, so with the presence of sunlight, this means that, all right, the plant can photosynthesize, okay, to make food for themselves, all right, and for them to survive. Okay, so now let's take a look at this diagram here. We have got three beakers. There's beaker A, beaker B, as well as beaker C. All right, first thing, when I am looking at this diagram here, what I would want to look out for is the changed variable. Okay, so in this question here, between beaker A and beaker B, the change variable is the presence of plant. Okay, in fact, this is also the change variable with beaker C. Okay, but between beaker B and beaker C, the change variable here, if you look at the plant, you will notice that in beaker B, the number of leaves, they are more compared to the ones in beaker C. So here would be the number of leaves. All right, good. So now let's take a look. Let's continue first. Raja recorded the volume of water. All right, recorded the volume of water in each beaker on day 1 and day 7 in the table below. Right, so once we have a table, study the table well, get the information out of this table here. Let's take a look. Beaker A, all right, on day 1 it's 800 milliliter of water, all right, but on day 7 it is still 800 milliliter of water. This means for beaker A, all right, no water loss. Okay, so none of the water, or we can say that the water actually remain the same. All right, the amount of water. For beaker B, on day 1 it is 800. On day 7 it is 550. Oh, so there is a decrease of 250 milliliter of water. All right, so in this case, what we can say is that in plant B, all right, the plant absorbs water. Okay, all right, and we know the reason why the plant absorbs water is because of photosynthesis. Right, for beaker C, right? Day 1 is 800. Day 7 is 650. So here you can see there is a decrease of 150 milliliter of water. Again, plant C absorbs water. All right, not plant C, beaker C. Okay, right. So why is there this difference of 100 milliliter of water here? To answer this question, you have to go back to the fact that in beaker B, all right, the amount or the number of leaves is more than beaker C, the plant in beaker C. So in this case, the rate of photosynthesis would be higher in beaker B. All right, so let's begin answering the question. A, compare the change in the volume of water. So now you compare, all right, that's the command word or the question word here. Compare the change in the volume of water between beaker B and C over the 7 days. And then you're supposed to explain that. All right. So while we were looking at the table and we were asking ourselves, why was there this difference of 100 milliliter? We have already mentioned that because there's more leaves on the plant in beaker B. So because of more leaves, that means the rate of photosynthesis will also be faster. And due to that, photosynthesis requires water. So the plant will absorb more water in order for it to photosynthesize. Okay? So because of that, the amount of water or the water level decrease more compared to the plant in beaker C. So how are we going to write this answer down? Okay, so first, there's two parts. First is this part here, all right, about compare. There's a first part to the question. Explain will be the second part of the question. So it will be very good if you answer this part by part. So let's answer the first part. Compare the change in the volume of water. In this case, we already know, all right, so let's answer that. The volume of water decreases more in beaker B than in beaker C. Full stop. So that would have answered the first part of the question. All right. Now, then we move on to explain. Now I have to explain why is this happening. All right, and we know because, all right, plant in beaker B has more leaves than the plant in beaker C. Okay, so what? So what if the plant in beaker B has more leaves than the plant in beaker C? What will it affect? It will affect the rate of photosynthesis. All right, so hence, comma, the plant in beaker B will have a faster rate of photosynthesis and absorbs more water. Okay, all right, so that's the reason why the water level in the plant or in the beaker beaker B, all right, the water level decreases a lot more. Okay, now there is one part that some students ask me. If this question here, can we talk about transpiration? All right, you can actually talk about transpiration here, about how water loss is going to be more in the plant in beaker B. But the problem is that transpiration is no longer in the primary school syllabus. Okay, but if you write transpiration in, it is still okay. It is still fine. All right. Now let's move on to question B. Right. What is the purpose? All right. So what is the purpose of setting up beaker A? All right. Yeah. So the question right now is, if we go back, okay, let's take a look. Beaker A has got no plants in there except for water and oil. Okay, and we know the reason for the oil. The oil is to prevent water from evaporating, so that we do not lose any of the water through evaporation. Okay, so now what is the purpose of having this here? Right, there is a reason for us to have that empty or the plant beaker without any plant. It is actually called a control setup. All right, so this question is in fact asking you, do you know what is the purpose of using a control setup? All right, so two reasons. The control setup is for you to make a comparison. All right, the comparison for what purpose? Comparison to show that, you see, if any of the water that is lost in beaker B and beaker C, all right, compared to beaker A, the reason was because there's a plant there. Remember, we talked about, all right, the change variable, which was the presence of plant. So the reason now is because of the presence of the plant. Okay, so that will tell you that the plant absorbs water. All right, so let's answer this question here. All right, so first, identify the purpose of beaker A. All right, beaker A, all right, is a control setup. All right, for what purpose? For comparison. Okay, it's the purpose is for comparison, but comparison with what? With beakers B and C. Okay, now some students, they will stop here. You will not get your full mark if you stop here. What you need to do is to write down the purpose of this comparison. Okay, so let's write it down. In order to show, all right, that the decrease in the amount of water, okay, was due to the presence of the plants. Okay, so now you have a complete answer. All right, always remember, your answer have to be complete, then you will not lose your partial marks. All right, good. So now, if I am going to take a look at this question here today, what I would ask myself, all right, is that what are the concepts that I am being tested at the moment? Okay, if you take a look at this question, there are actually two that you are being tested. The first one is factors that will affect the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, so we know that there are a few factors that will affect the rate of photosynthesis, which is what? Available of carbon dioxide, availability of water, all right, and then sunlight, as well as the amount of chlorophyll, which is the number of leaves. All right, and then the second thing that we are being tested was the purpose of a control setup. Okay, why do we need to use a control setup? All right, good. So I hope you have already learned something here today with our question deep dive. And if you would like to do a revision for photosynthesis, you can actually, all right, go into the description. All right, you can watch our video there about photosynthesis in plants, as well as, all right, If you have got any question, you can always write it down in the comment. Okay? And then, don't forget. Alright? You can see the button at the right. Okay. Please subscribe to the channel. It would really, really help us. As well as, right, don't forget to click the notification bell so that you won't miss out any of our future videos. Okay, so it was nice having you sticking with me up to the end of this live stream, or if you're watching on the replay. All right, thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. I hope to see you again in our future videos, where we will go through topics as well as we'll do question deep dive, and this is all just to help you in your science learning journey towards PSLE. Right? So this is Science with Dani. I am Dani saying goodbye. Bye bye.